How much does that game affect John Wall's legacy?
I think it carries a lot of weight. I know we focus so much on where the NBA is as far as the players are concerned, but Game 6, in the beginning of Game 6, I know we focus so much on what happened against Houston, San Antonio. James Harden struggled in that game. Well, the same thing was happening in the first half for the Washington Wizards. When you look at John Wall, who struggled in that first half, I thought, oh boy, here we go. We're going to jump on top of John Wall. Second half, things changed. Well, in the last 19 minutes of Game 7, he completely struggled. We know he was missing. Bradley Beal was the one carrying the weight for him. They were pointing fingers on defense, trying to figure things out. The legacy right now of John Wall, I would have to compare to Chris Paul. Now, I know everyone's sitting there listening and say, how can you compare a guy who's probably going to be top 5 to ever play at that position? Well, Chris Paul's numbers, as far as the playoffs are concerned, 33 and 43, 21.4 average per game. And this is in the playoffs now. 9.4 assists. And 4.7, 9.4 assists and 4.7 rebounds. Well, John Wall at this particular point is 18 and 13 at this point of his career. Now, this is 7 years into the league. 21-point average, 9.5 assists with 9.5 rebounds and 4 assists. Well, those numbers really jump out at you. But yet and still, if they can't get out of the East.
So many contradictions in there. I'm going to let Dion get you first, and then I'm going to come get you later.
Finish. I mean, I know I'm not Stephen A. Smith, and my hairline is not as far back as his. But
well, it's getting close. It's getting close.
Hey, but it's not there yet.
You got that cover 2 happening. The safeties are hitting off the hashes.
Wait a minute now.
Safeties are hitting off the hashes.
But let's really look into it. I mean, now, we all know that John Wall is a great player. A lot have argued that he's the second best player in the East. Well, there's a guy in the East that always seems to keep people from advancing in that round. Same thing we heard about Michael Jordan, right? Reggie Miller had a chance to win a championship, but he had to go through Michael Jordan. So can we say the same thing about John Wall and his legacy?
Nope. I'm going to let Dion go because he knows more about basketball than me. Obviously, I'm going to let him.
Well, you jumped out in the street early. Let me know what you got to say.
I mean, saying that he's compared to Chris Paul is not an insult. That's a huge compliment. If you're saying like a negative thing, you can't say that it hurt his legacy and then said, I think he's like Chris Paul.
Honestly, I don't think it hurts his legacy. I think he's young. I think that's a young team, and he got a lot of basketball left. I think he had a tremendous playoffs. A tremendous playoff. Last night, the last 19 minutes he didn't score, whatever, but before that, I think he did a tremendous job of just every night, night in, night out.
Okay, you say the same thing about James Harden, too.
No, you can't compare.
Let him finish.
James Harden had a hell of a playoff. He had one bad game.
So, same thing with John Wall?
One bad. But they have a lot of basketball left. Chris Paul is older than them, so you really can't compare that right now. John Wall's still above 500 in the playoffs. You say 18 for 13, right?
Right now.
You can't criticize. Right now. You can't be the one criticizing James Harden for how he played and also criticize John Wall. John Wall was taking them shots that everybody was saying that James Harden wouldn't take. And I think that some onus needs to go on Scott Brooks. Like, the man is tired. They don't have any easy sets. They're not creating easy offense in the same way that the Celtics are.
Honestly, I think the Wizards, that game last night, I think they didn't get help from their bench. I think their bench, scored 5 points to Boston 43, I believe.
Kelly
Olynyk had a big game, but every night the starters for Washington, provided that spark.
Right.
And when John Wall went out the game, the lead always disappeared.
Yeah. I mean, Scott Brooks didn't give them a chance he didn't play very many players. And also, the shots that they made were contested threes. Like, Brad Beal was hitting tough shots at the end of the game. I saw at the end of the game for the Celtics, they come out of a timeout. Marcus Smart, they design a play, gets Marcus Smart an easy layup. You don't see that on the other side. And I think overall, these playoffs, maybe this last game wasn't great for John Wall, but these playoffs have people saying what you said to start the segment, he might be the second best player in the East. Who was saying that before these playoffs started? So maybe this last game wasn't great, but these playoffs have been tremendous for John Wall's legacy or his reputation or whatever.
Agree.
Dion brings up a great point. That the two teams were run very differently. When you look at the way that the bench was used for the Celtics and the way the bench was used for the Wizards, almost exact opposites. But let's continue with John Wall because, according to the statistics, this was the best statistical season of his 6-year NBA career.
And that's what I'm saying.
Do we put too much emphasis on the fact that it was Game 7 when he didn't show up?
Well, I mean, that wasn't a big topic in Game 6 of James Harden not showing up when he had probably the best statistical year as far as assists and rebounds in his career. Well, I mean, it's something to be said. Now, look, I'm a former player. I hate when I hear people talking about it. But let's throw it out there. I mean, let's focus on it a little bit. Yeah, right now he's 18 and 13 for a franchise that I thought they would make a move to try to get another scorer in there to help with Bradley Beal and also with John Wall.
Like we have a panel. We have a panel of players.
Everybody's saying John Wall Game 7 didn't show up. I believe he still had 18, 12, and 7.
Yeah, he had a solid day, but in the last 19 minutes when your team needs you to step in,
at the end of the day,
you have to step up.
You can't blame it all on one player. Like, we have a panel full of players here. We don't have any media gas bags, so we don't have to subscribe to the same nonsense that they do. Just because they didn't win Game 7 doesn't mean John Wall is a failure or John Wall's legacy is impacted. John Wall was tremendous.
Do you put pads on anymore?
I don't.
Do you lace up the cleats?
I don't.
What job do you have now?
Well, I mean, I'm not
Call
a
it how you see it, Dominic.
I'm not a rapper.
Call it how you see
I'm
it.
not a rapper. I just do this for the cash. Like, I'm really a player at heart, and I'm not going to let them corrupt me into accepting that if you lose a Game 7, all of a sudden you're less than a great player. Chris Paul is tremendous. I don't care how many NBA championships he has. John Wall also tremendous, and I think Dion can also speak to the fact that it takes time for guys to mature in this league and become dominant forces like he is now.
The Chris Paul situation, he's in the West, the Wild Wild West. It's a lot of time. It's hard to win over there.